What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Playmakers Corner podcast. I am your host for today, Simon Villanos, aka Coach V, and this is episode 455 being recorded on May 3rd, 2025, Saturday, and we got your 2025 NAIA Women's College Flag Football Award Show here. Let me go ahead and break down how this works. So we have a whole bunch of categories. Feel free to skip around in our timestamps, but the voting for each award stays the same. Myself, Kodey, and Gino, who have obviously covered NAIA Women's College Flag Football the last couple years, pretty much every year, except for the first one, we will each have a vote on each award category. Our friend Cory from NAIAfball, make sure you show them some love on all their socials at NAIAfball. They've covered women's flag football, I'm pretty sure since the beginning, or pretty close to the beginning, as well as NAIA football. So make sure you give Cory and them some love. But Cory will have a vote, and then our guy Nathan Williams here. He voted last year, just putting that out there. But Nathan Williams, he is one of few who has an elite eye for women's talent at any level for flag football. That's at the girls level, college level, and adult women's level. He is currently working with various organizations, and it's not luck that anywhere he goes that they are very successful. If you are part of the flag football community, you probably know about Nate Williams already. So there you go there. And then we also have you, the fans, who voted on our Twitter/X at Playmaker Corner, who has voted for each and every one of these categories. So we appreciate you, the fans. And so here's how this will go. Obviously, each segment I'll talk about all the finalists, their accomplishments, stats on the season, and then I'll get into the votes and the reasons behind every single vote here. Well, except for you, the fans. But that brings me to my next point here. If for any reason there is a tie between 2 or 3 or whatever candidates, the fan vote will be the tiebreaker. That is how we have always done these, and that's why the fan vote is important. So there you go there. We got a lot of great players to talk about here, so let's go ahead and hop right into it. All right, now let's go ahead and get to Defensive Back of the Year. We have 4 great finalists. Let's go ahead and start with one of the younger finalists here. From Ottawa, we have the sophomore Talia McGinnis. In her second year, she was a big impact player for them, and she was also very good her freshman year. Mind you, I believe she made our all-freshman team last season, but this year, she was dominant from her safety spot. 25 flag pulls, 25 tackles, 5 interceptions, and 24 pass breakups in 15 games. Those 24 pass deflections are among the highest, if not the highest, in the entire country when it comes to pass deflections here. She has been a key part of this Ottawa defense that has been really good all season, posting a lot of shutouts against some very good teams in the KCAC, and going into this national tournament, she is going to be a force to be reckoned with. Only in her second year, plenty of football ahead of her as well. She is just getting started. Speaking of just getting started, we have another sophomore safety here, and that is the sophomore from Kaiser, Ashley Clam. Some of you who may be newer to the game may know her from the Super Bowl commercial that aired earlier this year, or from her announcing the Houston Texans draft pick from just a couple weeks ago, but strong ties to the NFL and quite possibly the face of this sport here. In her second season, she was dominant, and that's saying a lot because last year she swept in a lot of awards here. She was a unanimous Newcomer of the Year winner. She was an Offensive Playmaker of the Year winner, and now this year she is a Best DB finalist, and for a good reason. In 17 games, had 18 tackles, 14 interceptions here as well has 20 pass breakups. I believe those interceptions are among the top in the country, if not leading. I'm pretty sure last time I checked, it was leading here. And on top of that, I mean, also playing on offense, obviously, as well. She helped lead Kaiser to another Sun Conference championship this season and has had a very dominant year so far. Going into nationals, we already know that she's going to be a big impact player. Moving on, speaking of impact players, we have the junior safety from Weber, Caitlin Sigmundi. Played the fewest games out of everyone on this list, only 14 games, but in those 14 games, she was big time. 32 tackles, 7 interceptions, 14 pass breakups, as she held it down for a Weber team that wasn't super deep, so she had to play a lot of football on both sides of the ball here and did her thing on both sides of the ball, and is definitely one of the best DBs in the entire country. And then, speaking of best DBs in the country, we arguably have the best one over the last 4 years. We have the senior from St. Thomas, Tashumba Washington, 27 tackles, 8 interceptions, 10 pass breakups in 12 games. So sorry, she actually played the least amount of games this season out of everyone here. And she was electric. She's been electric for them. Also played a lot more offense this season, but that did not affect her defensive production, as she was elite both in man and in zone, and has been a key player for St. Thomas, not just this year, but the last 4. And so, with that being said, let's go ahead and get to the voting here for best defensive back of the year, starting with my vote, I'm voting for Tashumba Washington. Whenever I got to watch her this season, she's been electric. Quarterbacks, I mean, they don't throw her way, and when they do, it almost always feels like an interception, if not a pick six. She has been electric all season long, and she's just, I mean, this is a reputation that she has formed. She's a scary defensive player to play against because of how quick, fast, electric she is in open field. So if she gets her hands on the ball, most likely she's housing it, if not probably getting a nice return on the interception and flipping field. So I had to go with Tashumba Washington. Gino will also go with Tashumba Washington here. He says Washington has been the leader of the St. Thomas defense for a few years now, and she just had her best season to date. She makes opposing offenses flat out fear going deep against St. Thomas because she is so good at making plays when the ball goes her way. So there you go there. That's 2 votes for Tashumba Washington. Let's go ahead and go to Cory from NAIAfball here. He will be casting his vote for Ashley Clam, the sophomore out of Kaiser. He says big players make big plays in big games, and the pick 6 against Thomas was that in spades. Clam has been an incredible ball hawk, is only getting better. So there you go, 2 votes for Tashumba Washington, 1 for Ashley Clam. Nathan Williams will also go ahead and vote for Ashley Clam. He says, became even more dominant in her second year of college and was the leader of the defense while teams avoided throwing her way. She still made impact plays and stood out. Best safety in NAIA. So there you go there. That makes it 2-2. Kodey, though, will go ahead and vote for Tashumba Washington, making it 3 votes for Tashumba Washington and 2 for Ashley Clam. Kodey's reason is, as far as an individual controlling their side of the field, no one does it like Tashumba. Lockdown and playmaker with interceptions and scores on defense kept St. Thomas as a top 5 team throughout the season and is an X factor to watch at nationals. So there you go there. That's 3 votes for Tashumba Washington, 2 for Ashley Clam, but we still got our fan vote, which, remember, is the tiebreaker if there are any ties in votes. And so let's go ahead and get to it. With 188 votes total in our poll, the winner, our 2025 defensive back of the year, will be the sophomore safety from Kaiser, Ashley Clam, as she wins 52% of the vote here, of the fan vote, to go ahead and be named the 2025 defensive back of the year. Congratulations to Ashley Clam. She has had a very dominant season, and this will actually be, I believe, if I am not mistaken, this will be the first time a player has won back-to-back Best Position awards, because last year, Ashley Clam was also your 2025 Defensive Back of the Year. So, there you go there. Congrats to her as well. She has been a great player all season long here. And, her team is going to be able to go to Nationals this week in Kansas City and contend for a national championship. But for now, this is another accolade to add to Ashley Clam's already illustrious career. All right, now let's go ahead and move on to Linebacker of the Year. And for the first time, all the finalists for Linebacker of the Year will be coming out of the Sun Conference here. So let's go ahead and get started with the junior linebacker and the reigning MVP from last season, Anna Vincenzini of Warner. In 14 games, had 61 tackles, 1 sack, 6 interceptions, 12 pass breakups, like I said, in 14 games. On top of that, being a prime wide receiver on the other side of the ball. But this season, it felt like broke out as a linebacker and was part of a Warner defense that was very good throughout the season and should be very good going into Nationals there. So there you go there, Anna Vincenzini leading from both sides of the ball. Speaking of leading from both sides of the ball, we got to talk about two linebackers from Kaiser here in Samaya Bryant and Adriana Cavallati, who both had great seasons. Let's start with Samaya Bryant. In 17 games, had 78 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 10 interceptions, 17 pass breakups. Some of the best stats from a linebacker in the entire country, and definitely in the Sun Conference, which is arguably one of the toughest conference, if not the toughest conference in the country. You also have Adriana Cavallati, who had a great season, 84 tackles, 1 sack, 9 interceptions, 18 pass breakups in 17 games. It really felt like this year was Adriana Cavallati's kind of breakout year at linebacker specifically, as Samaya Bryant, no offense to her, but she's been great in her last couple years, and this really wasn't a breakout year. Maybe her best statistical year, though, for sure. I think that is fair to say. But we have one more finalist we got to talk about from Thomas. We have the senior linebacker, Janae Scott, 68 tackles, 4 sacks, 5 interceptions, 17 pass breakups, and a safety in 16 games. Like Samaya Bryant is not new to the spotlight. She has been a leader and one of the focal points of this Thomas team since they were a program all those years ago. It has been special covering her career these last couple seasons, as I believe we've covered her entire women's college flag football career. And so a lot of respect for Janae Scott. She's the heart and soul, it feels like, of that defense over there. And defense being the identity of Thomas is big time, as they are one of the best defensive teams in the country. So there you go. Plenty of great candidates, but there can only be one winner. Let's go ahead and get to it. I will go ahead and cast my vote for the Thomas senior linebacker, Janae Scott. I feel like this season she has been big time for them, and she's been big time for them the last couple years, but this season specifically, this defense has been very on top of it. I was considering Adriana Cavallati and Samaya Bryant, but, I do feel like those two players do benefit from playing with each other, as well as plenty of other great players like Ashley Clam, who just won Defensive Back of the Year, not only this year, but last year as well. So, not to discredit them, but right now, I'm leaning towards Janae Scott. I'm going with Janae Scott. She has been a leader for that team, and she is a key part of the Thomas defense and their winning strategy. And I believe she will be going into Nationals, as they potentially hope to finally bring home a national title in her senior year. Gino, though, he's going with Adriana Cavallati, the senior from Kaiser. He said the amount of times that I have seen Cavallati get a clutch 3rd or 4th down stop this season is just ridiculous. She is an expert in the art of flag pulling, and that was one full display of this year as one of the leaders that was on full display this year as one of the leaders of this top-ranked Kaiser defense. Kodey is also going to go with Adriana Cavallati. He said Cavallati's combination of stats and clutch performances were critical to Kaiser's success this year, and her leap forward was also critical to the defense kind of being the showstopper for this Seahawk squad. Nathan Williams, though, is going to go with Janae Scott to go ahead and tie this thing at 2-2 right now. He says one of few players who had to make impacts in any role given without having extra elite players to help support her. Stats only show one aspect of someone's game, but opponents understand she can make you pay in any given second. So there you go. That's 2 votes for Janae Scott and 2 for Adriana Cavallati here. And then Cory from NAIAfball says he is going to go with Janae Scott, linebacker, DB, rusher. Scott has done it all. Don't mistake her multiple positions for weakness. Scott has as high a flag IQ as anyone in the nation, and her ability to read the field has opened up the game for fellow Nighthawk Caitlin Herb. So there you go. That is 3 votes for Janae Scott, 2 votes for Adriana Cavallati. Let's go ahead and go to the fan vote. And a lot of votes on this one, 225 here. And the winner of the fan vote will be Warner's junior linebacker, Anna Vincenzini, with 39%. Janae Scott, though, with 27% in second. And then Samaya Bryant and Adriana Cavallati each at 17%. So there you go. There, your 2025 linebacker of the year is the senior from Thomas, Janae Scott, who has had a great season, has had a great career over at Thomas, and we're wishing her all the best of luck going into nationals this season in Kansas City. All right, now let's go ahead and get to Rusher of the Year. We have a ton of great finalists as always, but let's go ahead and start with our younger finalists, starting with the freshman from Milligan, Tatiana Buno. 71 tackles, 10 sacks, 2 pick sixes in 21 games. She has been a part of a Milligan team and program that has come alive this season. Only a freshman, and she has been great for them. Got to actually watch her play live over in Kentucky against a number of squads over there, and she is just getting started. She will be a key part of this Milligan team for years to come, and has balled out and has showed that she belongs to be in this conversation with the best rushers in the country. Speaking of the best in the country, we have another freshman in Yvonne Brussel, the freshman from William Woods, part of that fierce Freshies squad that has only freshmen on the roster. But this season on defense, she was a menace. 50 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, and then she leads the country in sacks with 17.5 sacks and 6 pass breakups in 14 games. Got to watch her live as well in Kentucky. She has been an absolute technician over there while also playing on the offensive side of the ball. Brussel is one of the best freshman players in the country, period, and she is just getting started. One of many in a long line of rushers who have breakout freshman seasons. So there you go there, Yvonne Brussel making her mark. Moving on here, speaking of former freshman rushers, we have the sophomore rusher from Thomas, Caitlin Herb. She had an excellent season this year to follow up a great freshman year. 35 tackles, 16 sacks, 12 pass breakups in 16 games. She has been a key part of this Thomas team that, like I said, has relied on their defense to help them win some games. Their defense is their identity, and Caitlin Herb has been very consistent this year, holding it down for Thomas, causing a lot of chaos up front, and being the reason they're able to hang in games and come back and win some key games this year. And going into nationals, I mean, she's for sure to be a part of a team that will be contending for a national title. But speaking of contending for a national title, we have a senior, technically redshirt senior, in Suzanne, aka Sue, Kaufman from Ottawa, 61 tackles, 18 tackles for loss, 14 sacks, 3 picks, and 6 pass breakups in 18 games. Sue Kaufman this season has really come on strong, as this defense for Ottawa has been dominating the KCAC, giving those top teams a lot of trouble, who has a lot of firepower. And it starts with Sue Kaufman, who you can pretty much move anywhere, and she's going to be elite for them and make big plays when you need him. She made a lot of great plays last year in the national tournament, and I mean just in the previous seasons before, but going into this next season, going into nationals, you can count on her to make a play when you need it and be a part of the first ever women's college flag football dynasty in Ottawa. She embodies everything Ottawa is about on defense, and you gotta love her chaos over there on that side of the ball, as Sue Kaufman has been very productive this season. But there can only be one winner. Let's go ahead and get into it here. I'm going to go ahead and maybe make a surprising vote here and vote for Yvonne Brussel from William Woods. I think this season she has been great. She's been doing it all on both sides of the ball, but if we're just looking at the rusher side of things here, she is easily one of the best, if not the best, in the country already as a freshman. Leading the nation in sacks is a big deal, but that's not the only thing she can do. She can drop in coverage, she could stop the run, stop short passes, do it all. I think she is just getting started, and at nationals, I expect her to make an even bigger name for herself and those fierce freshies over there at William Woods. Gino, though, he's going to go ahead and go with Sue Kaufman. He says when it comes to overall value at the rusher position, Sue Kaufman is second to no one, in all caps, by the way. She can track down the QB better than anyone in the country. Plus, she can drop back in coverage and be very effective there as well. She makes Ottawa's defensive front absolutely terrifying. Kodey, though, is going to go ahead and go with Yvonne Brussel from William Woods. Kodey says, only rusher with over a sack per game. Her speed and takeoff help the rest of this William Woods defense feast the way they do, and will be an integral piece all the time heading forward. So there you go. That's 2 votes for Brussel, 1 for Kaufman. Nathan Williams, though, is going to go ahead and tie this thing up, voting for Sue Kaufman. Rusher is one of the most important positions in flag, and if it was sacking the quarterback, making the quarterback make a quicker decision, or pulling flags, this young lady dominated and made her fellow defenders' job much easier. So there you go, tied at 2-2. 2 for Yvonne Brussel and 2 for Sue Kaufman. Cory from NAIAfball is going to go ahead and go with Sue Kaufman. He says pass breakups are one thing, but transforming those into turnovers is huge. Kaufman consistently sets up the offense for quick, efficient drives. So there you go. 3 for Sue Kaufman, 2 for Yvonne Brussel here. But there can be only one winner, and your fan vote with 180 total votes will be Ottawa's senior rusher, Sue Kaufman. Like I said, 180 total votes on this poll. Kaufman got 44% of the vote, followed by Caitlin Herb at 25%, Tatiana Buno at 19%, and Yvonne Brussel at 12% here. Sue Kaufman, a very familiar name here in the flag football world, especially in women's college flag football. She has had an excellent season for them, and I believe she is the first rusher from Ottawa to go ahead and win this award. So congrats to Sue Kaufman. She is an excellent defensive player for them, and best of luck to her and that Ottawa squad as they pursue yet another national championship to continue their dynasty. All right, let's go ahead and get to Utility Player of the Year. This goes to, I think before we did like running backs, centers, this is kind of a combination of both. These are players that are used kind of all over the place here. So there you go. But let's go ahead and, per usual, start with our underclassmen finalists, starting with the freshman from Kaiser, Janasia Wilson. On the season, did it all for them. 300 passing yards, 5 passing touchdowns, but also brought in 94 receptions, 733 receiving yards, and 12 receiving touchdowns in 17 games. Janasia Wilson has kind of jumped in here and filled that role that Brianna Hernandez-Silva from last year filled, and she has been great for them. And if you remember, last year, Brianna Hernandez-Silva did win Utility Player of the Year for Kaiser there. So she is going to be another one in a long line of great utility players from Kaiser. But the thing with Janasia Wilson, is that she is just getting started. She gives Kaiser overwhelming firepower as she's able to do it all. She is super productive wherever you put her, and she's an absolute playmaker. Possibly the X factor for this Kaiser offense here. And considering how stacked they are, that is saying a lot. That the rich only gets richer, and that's Janasia Wilson for Kaiser, making them richer. So there you go there. But we have a couple of sophomore utility players here, though. Let's go to the KCAC, where we have the sophomore from Baker, Sanaya Waller. On the season, 846 passing yards, 15 passing touchdowns. It's only 3 interceptions. Also rushed for 360 rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns, and then had 44 receptions for 406 receiving yards, 3 receiving touchdowns in 18 games. Last year was the starting quarterback for Baker. This year, still starting, but playing a lot of different positions: receiver, running back, blocker, hopping in at quarterback at times, being their second quarterback in double quarterback passes. You obviously got to give credit to Willie Perez, the offensive mastermind that he is for Baker, to get her in great positions to succeed. But Sanaya Waller is out there executing for Baker, as she has added a very unique and different, offensive look and perspective to a Baker team that has taken the leap this season and honestly could give some teams some trouble in the national tournament here. So you got to look out for Sanaya Waller. I feel like utility player is a perfect spot to have very talented athletes just go out there and succeed and be X factors. That is what Waller has become for Baker, as they have become a team that could run a variety of plays, and I believe that starts with Sanaya Waller. Now, going back to the Sun Conference, we have another sophomore utility player in Leah Cruz for them. She has been one of their most productive players this season. And once again, that's another Sun Conference team with stacked weapons in the offensive room here. But on the season, 71 receptions, 609 receiving yards, 8 receiving touchdowns. By the way, in only 12 games, that is 5 less than Janasia Wilson and 6 less than the other candidates on this list. Super productive. She's been great in space, has helped move those sticks for St. Thomas, who, has been going through some quarterback changes. Went through a couple quarterback changes this year, going from Holly Neer and then eventually to Brooke Bogatz there. But Leah Cruz, regardless of who has been throwing her the ball, has been electric and reliable. You will take that if you are St. Thomas, and we will take that as she is a finalist. And then our last finalist is a very familiar name. We got the technically redshirt senior from Ottawa, Alyssa Linkus, on the year. 86 receptions, 1,220 receiving yards, 25 receiving touchdowns in 18 games. She has been a mainstay for Ottawa the last couple of seasons, and this year was no different, as even though it's been 5 years, teams still cannot find a way to stop Alyssa Linkus. She has been great for them, an absolute legend, a part of their dynasty over there, and the production speaks for itself, as also Ottawa is undefeated and has helped them to that undefeated record. So there you go. Those are your finalists for Utility Player of the Year. Let's go ahead and get into it. Actually, let's go ahead and mix things up, starting with the fan vote. 201 votes here. Getting 43% of the votes is Janasia Wilson, the freshman from Kaiser. In second was Alyssa Linkus with 32%, Leah Cruz with 17%, and Sanaya Waller with 8% there. And we're just going to go ahead and go in reverse order here. Let's go ahead and go to Cory's vote here. He is going to go vote for Alyssa Linkus. He says Linkus commands doubles wherever she goes, and from center wide receiver back, she makes the defense nervous anywhere. Nathan Williams will also go with Alyssa Linkus, one of the most important pieces in the success of Ottawa, and teams still cannot stop her. Another outstanding season from her. And so there you go there. That makes it 2 votes for Alyssa Linkus, 1 for Janasia Wilson, but that one is the fan vote, so there you go. Kodey will go ahead and vote for Sanaya Waller. He says, gotta go with the definition of utility on this one. She can run, she can pass, she can catch, she can block, and her versatility is really what makes this Baker scheme even remotely feasible. So there you go. That is a vote for a third different candidate right there. So that makes it 2 for Linkus, 1 for Wilson, 1 for Waller, but I'm going to go ahead and make it 2 for Waller, as I will also be voting for Sanaya Waller here. You know, Alyssa Linkus has had a great year, but Sanaya Waller has done it all for Baker, literally doing it all for Baker, and has been one of the most productive players, not just out of these utility finalists, but in the entire country, both as a passer, rusher, and receiver. Leading and doing well in those 3 categories is big time. And honestly, I'm a firm believer in that your utility player has to be a good, well-rounded player, or ideally needs to be your most well-rounded football player. And to me, Sanaya Waller was that this season. So, with that being said, that makes it 2 votes for Sanaya Waller, 2 for Alyssa Linkus, and 1 for Janasia Wilson. It can go to anybody, because you got to remember, if for any reason this is a tie in votes, the tiebreaker always goes to the person with the most votes from the fans, aka the fan vote here. And so Gino is going to go ahead and be the deciding factor here. And Gino will go ahead and vote for your 2025 Utility Player of the Year in Ottawa's Alyssa Linkus. And this is what Gino had to say about Alyssa Linkus. Linkus's value as a receiving threat in Ottawa's offense is crucial to the Braves' success on that side of the ball. Being the number 1 wide receiver on the number 1 team and leading the entire country with over 1,200 receiving yards on the season is enough for me to give Alyssa Linkus my vote for Utility Player of the Year. So there you go there. Your Utility Player of the Year goes to Ottawa's Alyssa Linkus. Congrats to her. She's an absolute legend of the game, a great player, and very deserving of this award. All right, now let's go ahead and go to Wide Receiver of the Year. We have a bunch of different candidates, none of them seniors, so just keep that in mind here. You know what, let's go ahead and start with our underclassmen here, starting with the Milligan wide receiver. The sophomore Sarah Rancorn this season had a breakout year, playing in 21 games, which is the most out of anybody on this list, but recorded 103 receptions, 1,142 receiving yards, and 19 receiving touchdowns. She has emerged as one of the key targets and one of the number 1 wide receiving options for Milligan, as they have taken a massive step forward this year. She has been dominant. Got to watch her play live, and I really like her game for Milligan. So there you go. There are plenty of football for her to play in the next couple years, but this sophomore year was a year to remember for Sarah Rancorn and this Milligan squad. Speaking of key sophomores, for Warner, we have a key sophomore in Jessica Finley. She had 108 receptions, 1,169 receiving yards, 22 receiving touchdowns in only 14 games. I believe she led the country, in receptions this year with those 108, and only doing it in 14 games is very impressive. And then you also got to consider that they did play a number of quarterbacks over there at Warner. And so for Jessica Finley to post top numbers in the country in only 14 games is big time. And you have to respect that. But on top of that, her teammate and the wide receiver of the year from last season in 2024, also your former MVP, is the junior Anna Vincenzini from Warner, as she is also a finalist. 79 receptions, 809 receiving yards, 17 receiving touchdowns, playing both ways, right? She was also a linebacker of the year candidate, but as a receiver, continued her dominance with multiple quarterbacks, with other, wide receivers to feed in the system as well. But she had another good season, as she has been a star for them these last couple years. And then last but not least, we have the junior from Kansas Wesleyan, Aaliyah Wood. 98 receptions, 959 receiving yards, 15 receiving touchdowns in 18 games. For Kansas Wesleyan, Aaliyah Wood has been their most reliable receiver, the clear number one wide receiver on that squad, and that has been big time for them, as Shahira Awada has had another great season, and a lot of that is because of Aaliyah Wood holding it down for them and drawing a lot of focus as one of the best, if probably not the best, wide receiver in the KCAC. So there you go there. Those are your wide receiver of the year finalists. So many players to pick from, but only one that can win it. Once again, let's go ahead and start in our Twitter polls here, our X polls, as 235 people voted for this one, and it was relatively close here, but your fan vote winner is Warner's Jessica Finley with 35% here. Anna Vincenzini, her teammate, right behind her with 29%, Aaliyah Wood with 21%, and Sarah Rankhorn with 15%. This was a very close race down to the end here, and I believe our closest poll so far. So there you go, Jessica Finley winning the fan vote. Now, Cory from NAIAfball is also going to vote for Jessica Finley. He says the two-headed monster of Vincenzini and Finley has been incredible this season, and Finley has been the main target. Defenses must now contend with multiple deep threats, which opens up the rest of the Warner offense. Nathan Williams is also going to go with Jessica Finley. Beast all season at wide receiver. Stats don't lie with her impact for her team. Kodey is going to also go with Jessica Finley. He says she has been absolutely legendary this season, stepping up big early in the season, catching passes from whoever was under center and making plays, and then really excelling once that position kind of hatched down. These per game numbers are so menacing, and her ability after the catch just puts her in a league of her own this season. Gino is also going to vote for Jessica Finley here. He says she leads all four candidates in receptions, yards, and touchdowns. It is hard to imagine what this Warner offense would look like without her dominance through the air this year. And I'm just going to go ahead and make it unanimous here and go with Jessica Finley. She's been dominant, I believe, this season. Out of the finalists that we listed out, played the least amount of games in only 14, but led in receptions, led in receiving yards, led in receiving touchdowns. On top of that, probably having arguably the most shaky quarterback room throwing to her. I mean, her and Anna Vincenzini, obviously, but just being so productive. It was a kind of a breakout year for her. She had a good season last year as a freshman, but this year as a sophomore took a significant step forward, and for that is the best wide receiver in the country. Nationals will be fun seeing her ball out, but your best wide receiver this year, your 2025 wide receiver of the year, goes to, once again, a sophomore Warner wide receiver in Jessica Finley. All right, now let's get to our last position award here. Probably the most glamorous position here, arguably, is quarterback of the year, and we have a bunch of great candidates here to celebrate. Let's go ahead and start with the underclassmen finalists. In sophomore quarterback Bridget Kaiser of Milligan, this season in 21 games, threw for 4,572 passing yards, 71 passing touchdowns to only 13 interceptions, leads the country in passing yards, and it feels like took a pretty massive step forward from freshman to sophomore year here, as Milligan's play and consistency, at least on the offensive side of the ball, and really as a team as a whole, has been very good because of how good Bridget Kaiser has been this year. And once again, only a sophomore, so really just getting started over there, so you gotta be able to appreciate that and respect that. Milligan has found themselves a program starting a franchise quarterback, if you will, here, and they got a good one in Bridget Kaiser, who is going to go into nationals and is going to probably have a really good nationals. So there you go. Now, our next candidate is a very familiar face. It is the junior quarterback from Kansas Wesleyan. That is Shahiro Awada. 4,116 passing yards, 56 passing touchdowns, only 6 interceptions. Also had 357 rushing yards and 7 rushing touchdowns in 18 games this season for Kansas Wesleyan. She has been electric for them since breaking out last year and, starting to play in the KCAC last year. This season was no different, as she was consistent, she was steady, and most importantly, she was deadly when given the opportunity to go make plays here. Shahira Awada has solidified herself as one of the best in the entire country, so for her to be there is obviously no surprise. But speaking of maybe some surprises to some people, we have the one-year starter, but the senior out of Kaiser, Haley Young, who has had a record-breaking season for the Kaiser Seahawks. 3,582 passing yards, 79 passing touchdowns, only 7 picks, and 2 rushing touchdowns in 17 games. I believe Haley Young leads the country in passing touchdowns. And you also got to remember, over at Kaiser, they do have 2 quarterback sets here. So for her to make this much noise and have this much production, mind you, as a first-year starter, but this isn't the first season she has been playing. She's played in a number of games the past 3 years, but this year being her biggest year yet, obviously. That has been big time for Kaiser, who has a lot of weapons over there, but you still need someone to execute, and Haley Young has been exactly that for the Seahawks this season. But speaking of consistency, we have the redshirt senior here from Ottawa, Madison Carrera. 4,372 passing yards, 77 passing touchdowns, only 6 picks, 179 rushing yards and 6 rushing touchdowns in 18 games. You do not go undefeated without a dominant quarterback, and Madison Carrera has been that all season, having what feels like a career year. And I'd say already was in some aspects, as she was razor sharp, arguably the most efficient she has ever been in her career here. And so a lot of respect for the legend that is Madison Carrera for Ottawa. Ottawa is who they are because of Madison Carrera. Can't argue with that. So there you go there. A lot of great candidates for quarterback of the year. But like I've been saying, only one can win it. Let's go ahead and start with the Twitter vote here, as it was a little close, 226 votes, but the fan vote will go to Haley Young, who won 37% of the votes. And this was kind of a close one. Bridget Kaiser at 30%, Madison Carrera at 21%, Shahiro Awada at 12% here. But Haley Young winning your fan vote for quarterback of the year. Cory, though, is going to go ahead and vote for Madison Carrera. He says, death, taxes, and eye-watering numbers from Madison Carrera. It's been a career that's defied logic for the Florida native. Nathan Williams will also go with Madison Carrera. He says, in all caps, championship DNA. No matter if it's a close game or a blowout, she's gonna get the job done and has the experience. So there you go. Kodey is also going to go with Madison Carrera. He says this is so complete of a season from Carrera and seems that she has saved her best for last. The mistakes are almost vanquished in their entirety. And then in parentheses wrote this out, not that they were a lot to begin with, and parentheses, and then says, and her want to pass more and take off less has led to the most unstoppable version of this offense. Gino's going to go ahead and seal the deal here, voting for Madison Carrera. He says Carrera has put together her finest season as an Ottawa Brave here in her final season of college flag football. There's not one blemish or bad game for her this season as quarterback of an undefeated team, so this one is a no-brainer for sure. And I'm going to go ahead and make it unanimous again here and vote for Madison Carrera. Like I said, I feel like it has been a career year. This feels like the most locked in she has looked really for her all career long going into nationals, which is saying a lot because she's had some great seasons. But this year, she has been as good as it gets. She has been the standard for elite quarterback play. And for that, she's your 2025 quarterback of the year, Ottawa's quarterback, Madison Carrera. All right, now that we are done with Best Position Awards, let's go ahead and get to this next award here, which is Coach of the Year. We have some great candidates here, a lot of great coaches in general to choose from. Well, let's go ahead and talk about our finalists, starting with Sam Harris from Kaiser. Went 16-1 this season and is your Sun Conference champions. The one game they lost, they would avenge in Thomasville, which, by the way, would be the only win that Kaiser has had in Thomasville in their storied program history. And on top of that, back-to-back Sun Conference champions. Staying within the conference here, we have Chelsea Palmer of Thomas, 15-1 this season, did beat the defending champs, Sun Conference champions, earlier in the regular season, but, unfortunately lost in the Sun Conference tournament. But even then, they're 15-1 through all the adversity they've faced. They've had to switch quarterbacks, figure out their offense, fill in some new players. This Thomas team has been the standard and has held up the standard that Thomas has had for years on years. So there you go. No surprise here that she is yet again a Coach of the Year candidate. Speaking of Coach of the Year, we have the KCAC, I believe, Coach of the Year in Liz Sowers from Ottawa. Also the KCAC champs, the only coach in the country to go undefeated, have her program go undefeated at 18-0. And this year, Ottawa has looked especially locked in. Plenty of senior players and, upperclassmen role models to uphold the tradition, but that's a tradition that Liz Sowers has built over there. And because of that, they are looking at a dynasty right now, 18-0, going into nationals. And then last but not least, we have Ryan Whitten out of Milligan, a 19-2 record. As an independent, basically at this point, he has had a great year. This year going 19-2, that is not something that we would have predicted. If you look at our preseason predictions from earlier on in the season, we expected Milligan to do better, but 19-2 is kind of crazy. It's really crazy. That is obviously the best record that this Milligan program has ever had. But when you look at this Milligan program and what they were 3 years ago when he first took over, they had to basically not play a year to continue to rebuild as he was hired as the new head coach, and he built that program. Last year was a good starting point, and then this year it feels like that program is broken out as a whole. You gotta give a lot of credit to Coach Whitten over there, who has brought this Milligan team to relevance and Milligan program to relevance. So there you go. Now let's go ahead and start with the fan vote here. With 167 votes, this one was pretty close between two candidates here, but your fan vote winner for Coach of the Year will be Kaiser's head coach, Sam Harris, with 34.1%, followed by Chelsea Palmer with 31.7%, as it was close, like I said. Then you had Liz Sowers at 18.6% and Ryan Whitten at 15.6%. So there you go. That is one vote for Sam Harris. I will actually go ahead and cast my vote, though, for Ryan Whitten of Milligan. Look, I respect what he has done to rebuild that program. That Milligan program was honestly not in the best spot just a couple years ago. And you got to remember, I believe Milligan was one of the original teams to have women's flag football, and they just did not have a great couple first seasons. But then Ryan Whitten comes in a couple years ago, takes a year off, so that they could get it all together. Recruits excellently And then last year had a pretty good year for basically a restarting program. And then this year, 19-2. Got to watch them live down in Kentucky, and I love the way that they play here. I think going into nationals, they are going to be a very fun and interesting team to watch, a very polarizing team to watch here. And they have become extremely relevant because of Ryan Witten, and he's built a great culture over there. I love what they're doing, and I believe Coach of the Year this year has to be Ryan Witten. Now, Kodey, he is going to go ahead and vote for a third candidate, as in this will be the third candidate to get votes in Ottawa's head coach, Liz Sowers. He says going to go with the only undefeated here and the coach that is still finding roles and ways to maximize everyone's impact on the roster. Hard to argue against a 0-loss season for me. So there you go there. But Gino is going to go ahead and break this three-way tie and vote for Ryan Witten out of Milligan. He said one of the biggest surprises of this flag football season was the emergence of the Milligan Buffaloes, led by head coach Ryan Witten. Their 19-2 record is a massive improvement from last season. Plus, Coach Witten clearly has been very committed to making Milligan a top-notch program. I definitely didn't think Milligan was going to go 19-2 this season, so Coach Witten will get my vote here. So there you go. That makes 2 votes for Ryan Witten, 1 vote for Liz Sowers, and 1 vote for Sam Harris. But Nathan Williams is going to go ahead and tie this thing up again, and he is going to go ahead and vote for Liz Sowers. He says number 1 coach until someone beats her when it matters. In 7-on-7, she's created a legacy, and teams still have not caught up with her. Everyone knows they're coming and still don't stop them. So there you go there. It is tied right here. 2 votes for Ryan Witten, 2 for Liz Sowers. And then you got to remember, Sam Harris has the fan vote, which will be the tiebreaker if it comes down to a tie in number of votes here. But it's going to go ahead and come down to Cory of NAIAfball, and he is going to go ahead and vote for your 2025 Coach of the Year, Milligan's Ryan Witten. And this is Cory's reason here. He says, after the 2024 Nationals, I felt the Buffs were undervalued and Coach Witten has delivered. While another undefeated season from Liz Sowers is great, if we're talking coaching, no one has done more with less than the Milligan head man. And so there you have it, with a winning vote of 3-2-1, ironically. 3 votes winning it by majority. It goes to the head coach of Milligan, Ryan Witten, who, like I said, has had a great season, has done great things with that program, and we are extremely excited to see them in nationals this upcoming week. All right, now let's go ahead and get to Newcomer of the Year. This goes to the best freshman in the country here. Now, this is one of the awards we've been doing for a minute since 2022. So some past award winners includes Addie Osborne of Ottawa, Alexa Wilson of Thomas, and then last year, Ashley Clam of Kaiser. This year, we have a great group of freshmen who got in there and contributed right away here. And so let's go ahead and let's start with the finalist from Milligan, Krista Quinn. On the season, 103 receptions, 1,191 receiving yards, 24 receiving touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns, 47 tackles, 6 interceptions in 21 games, doing it all for them and emerging as another one of their threats on offense, as well as a great defender on defense. Got to see her play live, and she was excellent and electric. I believe the only freshman, this might be ever, in women's college flag football history with over 100 receptions and 1,000 yards, as well as 20 plus touchdowns. And then on top of that, 6 interceptions on the defensive side of the ball. Now, did play in 21 games, so you got to keep that in consideration. But Krista Quinn has been great for Milligan this season. Speaking of great, we got Keelan Coleman of Thomas, 1,954 passing yards, 36 touchdowns, only 9 interceptions in 16 games. The key thing with that, though, is that she did not start in every single game. She would end up taking over and would have a key arguably signature game against Kaiser in the regular season where they were down, and then Keelan Coleman would go ahead and bring them back here. She looks to be the future of that program over there in Thomas, and it's going to be exciting to watch her do her thing at Nationals, but Thomas has continued to be a contender because of the play of Keelan Coleman. Speaking of contenders, we have Kaiser's Janasia Wilson, who was also a finalist in our Utility Player of the Year award here. But on the season, 300 passing yards, 5 passing touchdowns, 94 receptions, 733 receiving yards, 12 receiving touchdowns in 17 games. Kaiser has had a knack for finding great recruits, specifically on the offensive side of the football. Janasia Wilson adds to that legacy of elite Kaiser talent. And you got to remember, Ashley Clam from Kaiser also won this award last year. And then last but not least, we have Yvonne Brusso from William Woods, part of the Fierce Freshies squad over there. You know, that is a team made up of all freshmen, and honestly, it was hard to pick, but she was one of the best in not only on that team, but in the entire country here. Super productive on both sides of the football. On offense, 65 receptions, 624 receiving yards, 9 receiving touchdowns. Then on defense, 50 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 17 and a half sacks, which she leads the country in, and then 6 pass breakups in only 14 games. Got to watch her live as well this season, and she was excellent on both sides of the ball. And the future is bright for that William Woods squad, which is led by Yvonne Brusso and that Fierce Freshies team. Also worth remembering that is a team that went through a coaching change mid-season, and so she was able to put up all that production just this year alone. But regardless, a bright future for her and the rest of these finalists as we look at selecting a Newcomer of the Year winner to go ahead and join past winners in Ashley Clam, Alexa Wilson, and Addie Osborne. And so let's go ahead and get to the voting here. This was a close one. And so let's go ahead and start with myself. I'm going to go ahead and vote for Yvonne Brusso. She's been excellent all season. I thought she was the best rusher in the country, and on top of that, she's electric on offense, and that's an offense with so many great flag football players on that team, so many mouths to feed, but Yvonne Brusso has found a way to make it happen over there at William Woods, so she has my vote for Newcomer of the Year. Kodey will go ahead and vote for Krista Quinn, and he says this, it may be my bias as a wide receiver, but I don't think that Kaiser and Milligan's major jumps this season are due to just returning and developing a lot, but the high impact of Krista as an offensive weapon has weathered inconsistency storms from other high volume players, and the fact that she has been a plus on the defense is what gives her case just enough for me to cast her vote as Kodey votes for Milligan's Krista Quinn. Now, Cory from NAIAfball is going to go ahead and vote for Keelan Coleman here, the quarterback from Thomas. He says, call me a homer. And that may be fair, but Keelan Coleman has been a revelation for the Thomas Nighthawks. Stepping in for Alexa Wilson during the regular season Kaiser game, Coleman has rarely shied away from the spotlight, delivering accurate balls in key situations, which, I got to agree with. Now, if we go to the Twitter vote here, it is going to go ahead and give you your fourth different vote here. As with 209 votes, Janasia Wilson wins the vote with 46.4%. Keelan Coleman right behind her with 20.6%, Krista Quinn with 19.6%, and then Yvonne Brusso with 13.4%. And so there you have it. A vote for every single Newcomer of the Year candidate. Gino, though, will go ahead and also cast his vote for Yvonne Brusso to go ahead and break the tie temporarily to give her the lead. So that's 2 votes for Yvonne Brusso and then 1 vote each for Krista Quinn, Keelan Coleman, and Janasia Wilson. This is what Gino had to say about Brusso. He said it is not easy to step up as a leader of a team as a freshman, but Yvonne Brusso has certainly done so. Let's just break it down for a second. She leads the nation in sacks and leads the team in receiving yards, receptions, receiving touchdowns, and tackles. Completely ridiculous production for any player to have, let alone a freshman. So there you go. That puts Yvonne Brussel in the lead here. But it's going to go ahead and come down to this vote with Nathan Williams, as he will cast his vote for Krista Quinn to tie this thing up at 2-2. He says this: very impressive job making countless plays, and she showed in the college ranks that she belongs in the conversation as one of the elite future stars. So there you go. It is tied between Yvonne Brussel and Krista Quinn, but you got to remember it comes down to who has gotten more votes here from our fans. And so even though Janasia Wilson won the fan vote, the player with the most votes and your newcomer of the year is Milligan's Krista Quinn here, as she did edge out Yvonne Brussel just a little bit by 6% to win it. So there you go. That is your newcomer of the year, Krista Quinn, who has been excellent for Milligan all season. And I know the guys are excited to watch her play live again at Nationals this upcoming week. All right, now let's go ahead and talk about Breakout Player of the Year. This is a new award that we are starting this year, and this goes to the player that we believe has broken out and has taken a massive step forward, or is a player that, previously played flag football elsewhere and is transferring into the NAIA ranks and has made a big impact in their first year, but may not be a freshman. And so let's go ahead and talk about the finalists here. We have a good amount. Let's start with Milligan's sophomore quarterback, Bridget Kaiser. Had an excellent year, making a massive jump from freshman to sophomore year. 4,572 passing yards, which leads the country. 71 passing touchdowns to 13 picks in 21 games. She's been excellent, and she has helped lead this Milligan team to a program great and program high 19 wins, 19-2 on the season. But speaking of sophomore quarterbacks, let's go ahead and talk about the transfer quarterback, formerly from Thomas, Tara Lorente of Baker. The sophomore quarterback threw for 2,544 passing yards, 31 touchdowns to 14 picks, while also having 735 rushing yards and 11 rushing touchdowns. And then on top of that, 18 receptions for 177 yards and 3 touchdowns in 18 games. Tara Lorente, I believe, leads the all quarterbacks in the country in rushing yards. At least if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure she does. And she's been great for Baker, as she has given them another, I want to say another starting quarterback, but another quarterback to work with. And she has been very productive and has gotten better in every single game so far this season. Saw limited playing time over at Thomas and did a solid job, but she has really flourished over here at Baker. And so you got to give her a lot of credit. Now, sticking in the KCAC, as well as with sophomore finalists, we have Olivia Manfrey, the sophomore from Southwestern, moving from Australia to Southwestern here in the States to play flag football. She had a great first season, 51 receptions, 679 receiving yards, 6 receiving touchdowns, as well as 8 interceptions on defense in 12 games for the Australian athlete over there, who has been big time. Another great international player coming to the States and playing some great flag football this season here in Olivia Manfrey, and looking to be a key piece for that team moving forward. And then last but not least, we have the transfer from Florida Gateway, the junior college, the national, defending, I believe, national champs, to Thomas, one of the best programs in the entire country. And by adding Destiny Lockett, she was able to do a lot for them and replace some pretty tough production here. But she brings championship DNA to this Thomas team, and it showed, as she caught 42 receptions for 464 yards, 7 receiving touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns as well. But on defense was big time. At linebacker, 57 tackles and a sack, 5 interceptions, 15 pass breakups in 16 games for the wide receiver / linebacker. Like I said, won a couple national championships at Florida Gateway. came over to Thomas and immediately produced and has been great for them. Really excited for the guys to see her live this upcoming week at Nationals. But with that being said, there can only be one Breakout Player of the Year winner. And on top of that, the first one ever. And so let's go ahead and go to the Twitter vote here. With the 191 total votes, the winner of the fan vote will be Olivia Manfrey from Southwestern, the Australian athlete, 36.6% of the vote, followed by Bridget Kaiser, 25.1%, Destiny Lockett, 24.1%, and Tara Lorente, 14.1%. Relatively close poll right over here, but Olivia Manfrey really pulling away with it to win the fan vote. But here are the other votes here. Cory goes ahead and goes with Bridget Kaiser. He says you can't have a 2-loss season without a killer quarterback, and Kaiser has been just what the doctor ordered. While Lorente and Lockett were just waiting for stages, Kaiser has taken the stage for herself, all for herself. Nathan Williams will also go with Kaiser, saying hard playing a football game without a quarterback. Now that the spotlight is on her, it will be very interesting seeing how she reacts with the teams trying to slow her down. Wonderful season thus far. Kodey will go ahead and vote for Bridget Kaiser, saying day and night would describe the Kaiser jump from last season to this. I'm not sure if you asked people last year if Bridget was even a top 50 player in the country, they might ask who? But this season, she has vaulted way past that benchmark as one of the highest impact quarterbacks in the game. Gino will pretty much go ahead and seal this one, voting for Bridget Kaiser. He says, if I could vote for the entire Milligan team for this award, I would. But Bridget Kaiser specifically made a ridiculous leap and racked up over 70 passing touchdowns as a sophomore in 2025. Only a special player can make a leap like that in 1 year, so she gets my vote here for Breakout Player of the Year. And I will go ahead and vote for Bridget Kaiser as well. Look, quarterback is a very important position. You cannot have a successful football team without at least a consistent quarterback, but Bridget Kaiser has been that and more. Leading the country in passing yards in her second year is absolutely wild. This Milligan team is on the up and up, partially in credit to the dominance of Bridget Kaiser this season. So there you go there, your first ever Breakout Player of the Year here in 2025 will be Milligan sophomore quarterback Bridget Kaiser. All right, now let's go ahead and move on to Defensive Playmaker of the Year, one of our oldest awards. Previous winner of this award includes last year Kaiser linebacker Sydney Woodman. In 2023, it was Thomas linebacker Janae Scott. And then in 2022, it was Thomas rusher Jada Reese here. So a long line of great Defensive Playmakers of the Year. But let's go ahead and talk about this year's finalists here, as we have a good diverse group here, I would say, starting with Ashley Clam, the sophomore safety from Kaiser. 18 tackles, 14 interceptions, 6 pass breakups in 17 games. Leads the country in interceptions. Has been big time for Kaiser this season. And you got to remember, won best DB in back-to-back years last year and this year. And is one of the most feared defensive players in the entire country for a reason. Speaking of feared, though, her teammate Adriana Cavallati has been big time this season. 84 tackles, 1 sack, 9 interceptions, 18 pass breakups in 17 games. Has had, some would argue, a breakout season, at least statistically, having her best season to date here. She has been big time doing it all in the passing game, stopping the running game. She has been a big time player for Kaiser, just like Ashley Clam. In addition, and by the way, all these Defensive Playmaker of the Year candidates are from the Sun Conference, but in addition, we have Tashumba Washington, the senior from St. Thomas, 27 tackles, 8 interceptions, 10 pass breakups in only 12 games, the fewest amount of games out of all of the finalists here on this list. She has been big time, and you know, as a DB, people are not going to throw it towards you if you are making plays, and she has made plays both in man and in zone, and that has been big time. And then last but not least, we have Janae Scott, a former Defensive Playmaker of the Year winner, now a senior linebacker for Thomas, and this year had one of her best seasons to date. 68 tackles, 4 sacks, 5 interceptions, 17 pass breakups, and 1 safety in 16 games. Thomas has been one of the best defensive teams in the country, and Janae Scott has been one of the best linebackers in the country, and actually this year, the best linebacker in the country, as she did win our Linebacker of the Year award. So, with that being said, only one can be voted for Defensive Playmaker of the Year, or only one can win Defensive Playmaker of the Year. A bunch of different votes here. And you know what? Things get really interesting here. Let's actually go to our Twitter vote. 148 total votes, but for the first time in PMC history, we have a tie at the top. Ashley Clam and Janae Scott each got 35.8% of the Twitter votes. Yes, you heard that correctly. They each got the same amount of votes in this poll here. And second place was Adriana Cavallati with 26.4%, so it was relatively close. And then Tashumba Washington at the bottom with only 2% here. But you heard that correctly, the first tie in history, PMC history, in one of our fan votes. And so we'll see if that impacts something. But to start here, Cory is going to go ahead and agree with half of those fans and vote for Janae Scott. He says the heart and soul of the Thomas defense, the Brian Urlacher a flag. She's done it all and reacts faster than anyone this season, no matter the position. So there you go. That is one vote for Janae Scott from Cory. So actually 2 votes for Janae Scott, 1 for Ashley Clam. But Nathan Williams will go ahead and tie it up with 2 votes for Ashley Clam. He is going to say, you take Ashley off the defense and it would run 3,000% different. Best defensive player in NAIA, and she showed that once again when she won MVP on the field in the conference championship, Sun Conference Championship there. So there you go there. 2 votes each for Ashley Clam and Janae Scott. Remember, they each have won the fan vote, so it's going to come down to myself, Kodey, and Gino here to hopefully help break that tie. But Kodey is going to go ahead and vote for Tashumba Washington. He says, I think that Tashumba's impact has the biggest correlation to win rate and the other team's success. St. Thomas was looking different this year on the roster compared to last year, and with some high-impact folks graduating or being eased back in from injury, she was as reliable as ever for one of the best teams in the country, who is represented best by Washington and her defense. Gino is also going to vote for Tashumba Washington. He says if there's one defensive player that can completely change around a game by themselves and make opposing receivers hate their lives, it is Tashumba Washington. She embodies what a playmaker looks like out on the field, and her value to St. Thomas is infinite. So there you go there. It is now tied at 2 votes apiece. Like I said, fan vote right now is split between Ashley Clam and Janae Scott, but then you also have Nathan Williams and Cory each voting for the other to make it tied at 2-2, and then Gino and Kodey tied it up again with 2 votes for Tashumba Washington. And so with that being said, the deciding vote will come down to me. Honestly, I was deciding between Tashumba Washington, Ashley Clam, and Janae Scott here. But I think I gotta go ahead and vote once more for the senior DB from St. Thomas, Tashumba Washington. I felt like this season she was extremely dangerous. Now, the stats don't tell the whole story, but when you watch her on the field, she is easily the most dangerous defender on the field. You cannot afford to throw it her way. Tashumba Washington has way too many pick sixes to do that, but when she gets her hand on the ball, she is mostly gone. And even if you're not throwing it her way, she has found ways to go ahead and get in there and disrupt passes and cause pass breakups or tip the ball, which correlates into interceptions for her teammates. And like I said, great in man-to-man. She has went man-to-man with a couple receivers, not only this year, but throughout the last couple years, as well as being great in zone. And I just believe that she has been the best defensive player this year. And at Nationals, she's going to be going crazy and be just as dangerous as well. And so there you go. Your 2025 Defensive Playmaker of the Year is the defensive back from St. Thomas, Tashumba Washington. All right, now moving on to Offensive Playmaker of the Year. We have some great players here. Let's go ahead and start with the redshirt senior from Ottawa, Alyssa Linkus. 86 receptions, 1,220 receiving yards, 25 receiving touchdowns in 18 games. I believe she's leading the country in receiving yards, and I want to say receiving touchdowns, as she has been big time for Ottawa this season. Really no surprise, but she has dominated and has been a big reason why Ottawa has been undefeated. She adds a lot of firepower to an Ottawa team that is already stacked. Speaking of stacked, we have the sophomore wide receiver and your best wide receiver of the year here in 2025, Warner's sophomore Jessica Finley. 108 receptions, 1,169 receiving yards, 22 receiving touchdowns in 14 games here. Leads the country, I believe, in receptions. And alongside her was Anna Vincenzini, who was also great and has been an absolute star for Warner. But this year, Jessica Finley has really taken that leap forward, and she has been elite here, as shown with her winning our Best Wide Receiver award. Now, speaking of wide receiver, we have another player that has broken out this season, a sophomore as well, and Sarah Rancorn. 103 receptions, 1,142 receiving yards, 19 receiving touchdowns in 21 games. Among the teams that are not in the KCAC and the Sun Conference, she leads the country and has been one of the best players, emerging as a key wideout one or first target for Bridget Kaiser over at Milligan, who obviously, as we have mentioned over and over again in this episode, has taken a massive leap forward here, so cannot discredit her at all. But last but not least, we have the senior quarterback from Kaiser, Haley Young. On the year, 3,582 passing yards, leads the country in passing touchdowns, so it's 79 to only 7 picks, and then has 2 rushing touchdowns in 17 games, has smashed records this season in her lone year as the starter for Kaiser. And because of some of her play, and even I would say specifically in the Sun Conference tournament, she has been big time. I thought she had a signature game in that Sun Conference tournament and allowed Kaiser to go ahead and beat Thomas in Thomasville for the first time ever, while securing Kaiser's second straight Sun Conference championship. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get to the votes, starting with my vote. I will go ahead and vote for Haley Young. I love that she took a big leap forward, which, I mean, wasn't exactly unexpected. And I don't want to say big leap. In the last couple years, she's gotten pretty significant playing time, and the talent was always there. But for her to come out here and play great football and smash a couple Kaiser quarterback records held by a great player in Jasmine Roden, who was a great quarterback in her own right, says a lot. And then, by the way, past winners for Offensive Playmaker of the Year, because I forgot this, goes from Kaiser in 2024. It was Ashley Clam, their wide receiver. In 2023, it was Alyssa Linkus from Ottawa. And then in 2022, it was Kansas Wesleyan's quarterback, Brianna Hernandez Silva, back when she played for them. So there you go. The last time a quarterback won it, it was Brianna Hernandez Silva, who would end up playing for Kaiser last year and was a teammate with Haley Young. This year, my vote goes to Haley Young of Kaiser, their starting quarterback. Gino will also go with Haley Young. He said, I thought Haley Young was going to be a solid quarterback for Kaiser, but I did not at all expect for her to be this good. She fits their fast-paced offense perfectly with her expert timing and the fantastic touch she has on her passes. The numbers are absolutely ridiculous too, and that's why Haley Young gets my vote here. Kodey will go ahead and make it 3-0 and vote for Haley Young. He says this offense not only didn't miss a beat amidst a legend graduating, they arguably took a step forward. The most impressive part of Young's game has just been her mentality and how she is as cool as a cucumber, whether it's throwing her 6th touchdown of the game or bouncing back from an interception and leading a wicked awesome drive. Her poise has me more confident in a Kaiser run than I've ever been. Nathan Williams will go ahead and pretty much seal this thing with a vote for Haley Young as well. Used the talent around her very effectively and made games easy when needed. Not all QBs can have so many talented players and spread the football around and keep everyone happy while winning at a very high level. Cory will also go ahead and vote for Haley Young. He says, how do you succeed a quarterback that's led Kaiser to 3 national championship games? By being the only quarterback to beat Thomas in Thomasville. Young was darn near perfect in the championship game and should continue to rise to the occasion in Kansas City. And then the Twitter polls with 157 total votes will also go ahead and make this thing unanimous as Haley Young wins the majority of these votes in a close one with 31.8%, followed by Alyssa Linkus with 24.2%, Jessica Finley with 23.6%, and Sarah Rancorn with 20.4%. So your unanimous 2025 Offensive Playmaker of the Year is the senior quarterback, the 1-year starter from Kaiser, Haley Young, who will become the 2nd ever Kaiser player to win this award here. Very well deserving, and as you can see, everyone agrees that Haley Young should be the Offensive Playmaker of the Year. All right, now to our final award here, at least award with votes here. We have MVP, Most Valuable Playmaker, and just to go ahead and list off the players who have won MVP in the past. In 2024 last year, we have Anna Vincenzini, the Warner wide receiver / linebacker. And then in 2023 and 2022, it was the Ottawa quarterback, Madison Carrera. Now, this year, we have a couple familiar faces, starting with the 2 who have won MVP in the past. Let's start with the current winner back in 2024, Anna Vincenzini. This year had a great follow-up season, 79 receptions, 809 receiving yards, 17 receiving touchdowns, 61 tackles, 1 sack, 6 interceptions, 12 pass breakups in 14 games on defense for Warner. She continues to be one of the best two-way players, if not the best two-way player in the entire country, and has been a big piece for this Warner team as a whole. But speaking of players who have been big pieces of their squads, we have Madison Carrera, already the 2-time MVP. She is going for a 3rd here. Over at Ottawa, playing quarterback, had arguably her most clean season / efficient season to date. 4,372 passing yards to 77 passing touchdowns, only 6 picks thrown, did run for 179 yards and 6 rushing touchdowns in 18 games, also leading the only undefeated team in the country as they go into nationals this week. Through her entire career, KCAC champion, and was one this year as well. She has been as efficient as possible, a great quarterback, having arguably the best season of her career as it is coming to an end. So no surprise that she's in this conversation. Now, the other players in this conversation include the senior from St. Thomas, Tashumba Washington, who is great on both sides. On offense, only 18 receptions, but at 328 receiving yards and 6 receiving touchdowns. That means pretty much statistically every 3rd catch was a touchdown for Tashumba Washington. But on defense, she did her thing as well. 27 tackles, 8 interceptions, 10 pass breakups, By the way, playing the least amount of games out of any of these MVP finalists, with only 12 games played, doing it all for them. St. Thomas was in a little bit of a transition year with some different players on offense, specifically at quarterback, but Tshamba Washington and this defense held it down for them over there and played some great football, so no surprise that she is in this conversation. And then last but not least, we have the breakout player of the year, the sophomore quarterback from Milligan, Bridget Kaiser, 4,572 passing yards, 17 touchdowns to 13 picks. 71 passing touchdowns to 13 picks in 21 games here, leading Milligan to a 19-2 record, the best one in program history, as well as the best record among the non-KCAC and Sun Conference teams. But there can only be one MVP. Let's go ahead and get to the votes here. Starting with our Twitter votes with 192 votes. Anna Vincenzini wins the fan vote with 42.2% of those 192, followed by Bridget Kaiser with 33.3%, Madison Carrera with 14.1%, and Tshamba Washington with 10.4%. So there you go there. But I will go ahead and vote for Madison Carrera. She has been great all season long here. Like I said, the most efficient and locked in that she has looked like maybe ever in her entire career. But she has played some great football, and I think she has been the MVP frontrunner pretty much since week 1. So there you go there. I will be voting for Madison Carrera. Gino will also be voting for Madison Carrera, making it 2 votes for Madison Carrera. 83 total touchdowns. This is what Gino is saying. 83 total touchdowns and only 6 turnovers for the undisputed number 1 team in the country. Now that is how you cap off a legendary career and quite possibly the best season of any quarterback in NAIA flag football history. So I don't know how you could vote for anybody else. Speaking of, Kodey will also make it 3-0 voting for Madison Carrera. If I chose anyone else, it'd feel like blasphemy. Carrera already had a spot for her in the PMC Hall of Fame and should if there's an NAIA Hall, and definitely is one of the greatest flag football athletes in college history. Let's see if she can cap it off with another one. Championship is what he means, in case that wasn't clear. Nathan Williams will go ahead and pile on here and vote for Madison Carrera. Hunger never goes away for a true winner, and she's making this statement known. If she makes the finals and wins again, nobody will ever catch her in NAIA history at QB. And I gotta agree, there's no way that anybody else would be able to catch her there. As she has played 5 years because of her COVID year, but on top of that, the most successful quarterback in women's college flag football, arguably women's flag football right now. And then you have Cory here. He will go ahead and vote for Madison Carrera. He says first ballot unanimous Hall of Famer. There's nothing about Carrera that hasn't already been said. The only problem will be figuring out how to replace her. What a storied career. So there you go there. The fan vote goes with Anna Vincenzini, but we, the voters, will go ahead and go with Madison Carrera as your 2025 most valuable playmaker. This will be her 3rd MVP that she has won. And like everyone has said, a first ballot Hall of Famer. And, stay tuned. We'll be previewing or debuting that Hall of Fame soon here at the Playmakers Corner. But right now, Madison Carrera is your MVP for a reason. We wish her and her team and all these great players all the best of luck at Nationals this week. And I know Kodey and Gino are excited to be able to cover the final chapters of not only her career, but the other seniors and the other players that we have been able to cover these past couple years this upcoming week at Nationals. So there you go there. All right, now let's go ahead and talk about our all-freshman team here. This all-freshman team, we've done this the last couple years, and the players who make this list are the best players in the country. A lot of these players that make this list end up being some stars in the future here. And so in honor of all those great stars, I want to list off the all freshman teams from the last couple years. And we're going to go ahead and start in 2024. At quarterback, we had Miranda Dooley of Southwestern, Cheyenne Brooks from St. Mary. At utility, we had Adriana Williams from Warner, as well as Aaliyah Cruz from St. Thomas. At wide receiver, we had Altiera Gooch from Life, Ashley Clam from Kaiser, and Marley Spielberg from Ottawa. On the defensive side, we had rusher Talisha Perry from Warner, rusher Caitlin Hurt from Thomas, linebacker Janiah Thomas from Reinhardt, Leilani Kamal from Ottawa, and Nakia Lloyd from Kansas Wesleyan. At DB, we had Ashley Clam from Kaiser, Ashton Weirley from Milligan, Faith Phillips from Baker, and Maddie Hoagland from Thomas. And so that was in 2024. In 2023, at quarterback, we had Alexa Wilson from Thomas, Amaya Karula from Kodey. This is back then when we did running back. It was Jenna Marrero from Warner. Wide receiver, Nina Johnson from Reinhardt. Tatiana Dos Santos, wide receiver for Ottawa. And then continuing on, we had wide receivers Sophia Caprio and Brenna Ramirez from Kaiser. And then at center, we had Emma Bruce from Kodey. On defense, we had rusher Lila Casillian from Kansas Wesleyan, linebacker Lexi Mosley from Warner, linebacker J.C. Harper from Campbellsville, linebacker Adriana Brusmeyer from Reinhardt, and then DB Caitlin Sigmundi from Weber, DB Shania Marape from Kansas Wesleyan, Aaliyah Wood from Thomas, and Amiri Logan at the time from Warner. And then our first ever all-freshman team back in 2022 went this, and then a lot of these players, by the way, are seniors, so congrats to them. But we have quarterback Madison Tingen at the time from Warner, Sam Wilson from Weber, Addie Osborne from Ottawa, Caroline Simpson from St. Mary, Cynthia Holmes at the time from Warner, Riona Baker from St. Thomas, wide receiver Chloe Griffin from Kaiser, center Margarita Pena from Thomas, and then on defense, rusher Jada Reese from Thomas. At linebacker, Lexi Marquez from Kansas Wesleyan, Alexa Mansour from Kansas Wesleyan, Kenzie Murdoch from Kodey. And then at DB, we had Tashumba Washington from St. Thomas, Angel Roman from Kansas Wesleyan, Sanaya Glover from Thomas at the time, and then Erica Johnson from Florida Memorial. And so this year's all-freshman team is very similar, a lot of future stars, and so I'm just going to go ahead and list it out here. At quarterback, we have Mackenzie Hicks from William Woods and Keelan Coleman from Thomas. At wide receiver, we have Krista Quinn from Milligan, Mahogany Simmons from Baker, and Yvonne Brusso from William Woods. At utility player, we have Kiamora Dunn from Siena Heights and Janasia Wilson from Kaiser. At rusher, we had Yvonne Brusso from William Woods and Andrea Moon from Southwestern. At linebacker, we have Nandi Ramasar from St. Thomas, Ziona Shingles from Weber, and Kennedy Van Noy from William Woods. At DB, we have Igiana Edwards from Weber, Maddie Jones, shout out Colorado too, by the way, from William Woods, Delaney Mondino from Graceland, and then Addie Schillick as well from William Woods. So there you go there. That is your all-freshman team. They joined the past all-freshman teams here, and, you know, will be players to look out for not only in the future, but this week as well at Nationals. All right, now next up, we have our all-PMC team. This all-PMC team is handpicked by myself, Kodey, and Gino. We agree on who makes the squad, and this is made up of the best players in all of NAIA. And just like I did with the all-freshman team, I'm going to go ahead and list out the all-PMC teams from the past. Starting in 2024, we had Shahira Owada from Kansas Wesleyan, Jasmine Roden of Kaiser. At utility, we had two, Brianna Hernandez Silva from Kaiser and Alyssa Linkus of Ottawa. At wide receiver, we had Anna Vincentini of Warner, Ashley Clam of Kaiser, and Viviana Solis of Southwestern. Moving to defense, at rusher, we had Caitlin Hurt from Thomas and Lanai Leone from St. Thomas. At linebacker, we had Sydney Woodman from Kaiser, Abby Brown from Ottawa, and Alexa Mansour from Kansas Wesleyan. And then at DB, we had Tashumba Washington from St. Thomas, Erica Johnson from Florida Memorial, Giselle Jones from Thomas, and Ashley Clam from Kaiser. Now, in 2023, we had these two quarterbacks, Madison Carrera of Ottawa and Alexa Wilson of Thomas. At running back, we had Kiana Cole from Thomas. At center/blocker, we had Adriana Rodriguez of Kaiser. Then moving on to wide receiver, we had Cynthia Holmes of back then Warner. Wide receiver Kennedy Foster of Kaiser. Wide receiver Kayla Burrows of Weber. Jada Graham of St. Thomas as well. Moving to defense, at rusher, we had Jada Reese from Thomas. At linebacker, we had Janae Scott of Thomas, Abby Brown of Ottawa, and Raja Robinson of Weber. And then at DB, we had Tashumba Washington from St. Thomas, Angel Roman from Kansas Wesleyan, and then Giselle Jones from Thomas, and at the time, Aaliyah Wood from Thomas. Now, back to 2022, our first ever all-PMC team here. At quarterback, we had Madison Carrera of Ottawa, quarterback Jasmine Roden of Kaiser. Then at running back, we had Emma Wagaman of Kaiser. And then at center blocker, Margarita Pena of Thomas. At wide receiver, we had Cynthia Holmes at the time from Warner, Kennedy Foster of Kaiser, Kayla Burrows of Weber, and Alyssa Linkus of Ottawa. On defense at the time, we had rusher Jada Reese from Thomas. At linebacker, we had Janae Scott and Brittany Delva of Thomas, as well as Casey Thompson from Midland. And then at DB, we had Tashumba Washington from St. Thomas, Angel Roman from Kansas Wesleyan, Sanaya Glover at the time from Thomas, and then Abby Brown from Ottawa. So there you go there. Those are the all-PMC of the past, but the all-PMC of today here in 2025 starts with these two quarterbacks, Madison Carrera from Ottawa and Haley Young from Kaiser. At wide receiver, we have Jessica Finley and Anna Vincenzini from Warner, as well as Sarah Rancorn from Milligan. At utility, we had Alyssa Linkus of Ottawa and Sanaya Waller of Baker. At rusher, we had Yvonne Russo of William Woods and Sue Kaufman of Ottawa. At linebacker, we had Adriana Cavallati and Samaya Bryant of Kaiser, as well as Janae Scott from Thomas. And then at DB, we had Tashumba Washington of St. Thomas, Ashley Clam of Kaiser, Talia McInnes of Ottawa, and Caitlin Sigmundi of Weber. So there you go there. That is your all-PMC team. All right. And that will be it for this year. Coming from me, Coach V, talking about women's college flag football. I want to say my thanks because this is most likely the last time you will hear from me. I might do an intro or outro in the next recap episode from Nationals, but I'm not going to count on that. So thank you so much to all our supporters. We appreciate all the love. Go ahead and show some love to Kodey and Gino when you see them at Nationals, if you get to see them at Nationals, and then show us some love at Playmakers Corner on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter/X, TikTok, all the social medias. Pretty soon here, we'll get our website up as well, where we will have all the awards that these players have won and the history of those awards as well. So I'm very excited to get that up here soon, probably in a couple months though, so maybe not that soon. But once again, thank you so much for all the support. And until next time, until next year, I, Coach V, signing off. We'll catch y'all later.